Ferguson is now officially Pittsburgh property, and while I don't expect that to sell a single ticket across the scope of the 2025 schedule, I do think it sets a clear path for where this bullpen's headed. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Ferguson's 28 years old. He's a lefty. I could probably stop with the scouting assessment by just saying that he's a lefty. The Pirates don't have that. And they're probably going to have to manufacture it out of pitchers who don't make the starting rotation. Now, also yesterday, several players reached predictable agreements with the Pirates on arbitration deals, most notable among them David Bednar at $5.9 million. Bailey Falter was in there. And with a lot of respect to a pretty cool dude, it's easy to forget he's around, because he's kind of always been that guy who's living on the fringe. He can start. He could relieve. He could just be a lefty who hangs around until he's a good lefty, and you know how lefties are in that regard. But along with this signing of Ferguson came word from inside 115 Federal that Ferguson's going to get a chance to start in spring training. He's going to get stretched out as if he's in a starting competition. Now, for those of you who don't follow spring training all that closely, that doesn't mean too much. Stretched out in the spring can mean you get out to 2-3 innings, and then about halfway through the Grapefruit League schedule, they'll pull the plug on you and tell you to just focus on relief, or they'll tell you that they're setting you up for long relief. But I could see a scenario here, although no one from the team confirmed this much, where you have the Pirates wishing that one of their starters is a lefty, and then putting Falter into, one of those spring fifth starter duels with Ferguson and seeing who emerges from that. I'm not exactly getting you excited today, am I? That's not really the objective. It's just to look at the moves that they make, talk about why they make them and what they might mean. This is obviously a little bit of an aside here, but I'm not trying to get anybody geeked up when I talk about Caleb Ferguson. Just, attempting to explain the inexplicable, as I've said for many, many years on this beat. Not that I have a problem with Ferguson. He's had some success in the majors. He's 13th among all Major League Baseball lefty relievers with at least 140 innings pitched. He's had a ground ball rate, this is really good, of 46.9%. He's had a 3.37 ERA since the start of the 2022 season, and that also ranks 13th among lefty relievers in that time. That's not bad. And as far as starting, he's been used most recently by the Dodgers 7 times as an opener. That was in the 2023 season. He spent last season with the Astros. And I just think this is how all of this is going to get put together. Bednar and Colin Holderman also agreed on his arbitration terms yesterday. So Bednar and Holderman, and I guess you could throw in Carmen Mlodzinski, are your back end for now, barring some other additions. And there's going to be other additions. This is the one thing you can always take. I was going to say to the bank, but we're talking about the Buccos here. So let's say the piggy bank instead, because relievers don't even cost much. It's not a matter of the Pirates being cheap. It was so jarring last year that they went and put $10.5 million into Aroldis Chapman that I still can't believe that it happened. And I say that only because it was them. He was worth it. So what you're going to see with this pen, which obviously was a massive disappointment in 2024, arguably the biggest disappointment on the team, not the worst area, but the biggest disappointment. There's a difference. expectations had been sky high and instead turned out to be a disaster. So that's what you're going to see here over the next few weeks until all the trucks start rolling down to Florida. Most of the pitchers who get added won't be at $3 million, but you're going to see guys in the 1.5 type of range. And you're going to see Ben Cherington just throw as many of them against the wall as possible and hope that they show you something that's meaningful in the spring. I don't necessarily mean, ERA and stuff like that. I'm talking about showing you stuff, showing you control. But also within that, I feel like there's a very strong possibility that pitchers we currently consider to be starters, including prospects, could either be cast in bullpen roles, kind of the way Mlodzinski was, or they could push others who are starters into that role. If you think of all of this from the prism of what's the rotation, who are the 5 guys who are going to pitch the first 5 games, you're probably going to end up a little bit exasperated because once you get past Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller, Jared Jones, it's going to be a whole lot of this. Is Bubba Chandler ready to pitch in the majors? If so, he's a probable number 4. Or if you put your lefty at 4 for whatever strategic reason, then he's a 5. But you know what I mean when I say 4 and 5. It's depth chart. What happens then to, let's say, a Mike Burrows? Known sinker baller guy, a guy who's going to get you ground ball outs. Everyone had very high hopes for him. Then he had the Tommy John, but he's back. He's available 100%. Does the trajectory change for Thomas Harrington or a Braxton Ashcraft, short-term or long-term? Or do they become available via trades? You see where I'm going here? It looks like what they're doing is putting together a whole bunch of fungible pieces and letting them play themselves out. And for what it's worth, I thought that was one of the few things they did well coming out of spring last year. Bringing Jones up right away, as I've credited them for several times, was the linchpin to all that. Put him out there. Award performance. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragechek.org. That's gunstoragechek.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Abandoned ship, Bob. Sell the team. Are you a Pirates fan who is angry or apathetic about our perennial losing baseball team? Do you feel helpless because you don't know how to make a difference? Well, good news. We have something you can do about it. Join our Sell the Team movement. We're a group of passionate fans voicing our frustration and demanding change through billboard campaigns, press outreach, protests, and involvement at local city government meetings. Go to ourteamnothis.com to get involved.
Today's J1Q comes from ERAD, and it's in regard to a show earlier in the week about, led by Corey Dickerson's retirement, but really about the death of old school hitting, just plain old contact hitting. ERAD says, DK, from listening to your prior episodes both this week and over the past year, it sounds like the Pirates as an organization have a strong focus on increasing the pitch count of opposing pitchers. So wouldn't choking up, getting a 2-strike single and having another guy at bat also increase the pitch count? I mean, choking up and fouling off numerous pitches increases pitch counts. Swinging for the fences with 2 outs has to increase the chances of making an out. And you only get 27 outs. You'd think they'd be doing their best to decrease the odds of using one of those outs up in most situations. Well, yeah. And rather than, dissecting or whatever what you brought up there, because I agree with every syllable. The one thing that I would add to that is that the greatest single fallacy in advanced analytical thinking, and I don't mean I'm anti-math or something Neanderthal like that. What I mean is the personalities in general of the people who do this sort of thing, both for a living and even just for fun, tends to be that they come up with an idea, they follow through on it, and they make sure that whatever it is that they follow through on matches the original idea. It's a classic case of the preconceived notion. It's making something true. So what you have, even in the more specific cases, or even in the cases that are approached more honestly, is you'll set up what the criteria is. What is it that I want to prioritize? Okay, well, the way you laid it out just now, you want to prioritize not wasting outs while at the same time achieving other objectives. If they singularly decide that they need X number of home runs and X number of walks in order to keep up with the figurative Joneses, and that becomes the priority, and it shouldn't be, then the whole thing's going to get messed up. Did that make sense? It did in my head. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to the Daily Shot of Pirates. We'll be back with another one of these on Monday.